Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is another Stitch with Me while I continue working on Primrose Cottage stitches. This is Halloween. I am stitching this with all of the required DMC and stitching it on 28 count Jobelan in Antique Copper, which currently is my absolute favorite fabric. The color. I love Jobelan. I also like Lugana. I love even weave. It's very nice to stitch on. And people who go from aida to even weave, once you get used to seeing the holes in even weave, piece of cake. Just be careful how you count. Because at the end of this video, when I stopped it, which I don't know if I'll get to, I pre-record the stitching part and then I do this voiceover. So I know that I recorded 35 minutes of myself stitching last night. I stitched the witch's boot. And I stitched the yellow buckle part, like after I did the black, and I miscounted. Because when I filled in the green and got down to the black and started outlining the boot was up too far. And I was like, God damn it. So I had to tear out like a whole section. Yeah, I love that. That's fun. No, said no one ever. Yeah. But I restitched it. I was like, well, I was going to go downstairs and lay in bed and play Candy Crush and all that. But I said, no, I'm going to finish the boot. So you guys didn't see me finish the boot on this video, but the next video, you'll see it finished. Yeah. Luckily, I caught the mistake, though, when I did. Seriously. So I did have someone buy me a coffee yesterday. Rosemary. So Rosemary, thank you so very much. Very, very much appreciated. And so let's talk about yesterday, because I had recorded my voiceover before I went to my physical. And boy, was it quite the I don't want to say fun-filled, but it was a busy day yesterday. So I was up at 6 a.m. I left my house at 8:57, something like that. I had to be at the doctor by 9:15, and I'm only like 10 minutes away, so not a problem there. So I get there, and I check in. My blood pressure came down. That was good. The last time I was there, which was March, for a well woman exam, my blood pressure was 138 over something. Came down to 120. Losing weight will do that, right? So blood pressure is good. And I got my flu shot. And the aide that like takes your blood pressure and stuff like that beforehand, she said, when was the last time you had your tetanus shot? And I couldn't remember. She's like, okay, well, look. Well, nobody else ever said anything to me about that. So when she came back in to give me the flu shot, she said the doctor's running 20 minutes behind. God damn it. That is why I scheduled that appointment early in the morning. Because if you get to her late in the day, forget it. I sat there. It was actually more like half an hour. The doctor did apologize, though, when she came in for making me wait. And I really like my doctor. She's very, very nice. She was my grandparents' doctor. She's my mom's doctor. My stepfather, my sister. Yeah, like a lot of us go to this person. And so she asked me a bunch of questions. Was happy with the weight loss. And then we talked about my foot. So the joint below my big toe on my right foot has been bothering me for about a month or so, where it's not every day, but it's painful sometimes. And when I walk, sometimes it feels crunchy. That was the best way I could describe it. And I told Bill, I said, I have to get it looked at. When we did a lot of walking in Ocean City, it killed me. So I said, I have to get it looked at. Of course, she winds up giving me a referral, but she touched it. She doesn't think it's gout. She has no idea. So I walked out of there with 3 referrals. One for my mammogram in December, which the place I go to requires a referral, even though my insurance does not. I had a referral to get an x-ray on my toe, on my foot. And then I had a referral to a foot doctor. I asked to be referred to the foot doctor that Bill goes to, because Bill's had some things with his feet and he's had operations and stuff. Really likes this guy. It's right next to my hairdresser, so I know where it is. Yeah. So then when I get in the car, so then after that, then I had to give a urine sample and get blood drawn, because a physical, they want to do all that kind of stuff. So I was in there easily an hour and a half. Easy. I got there at 9. I didn't get out of there until like 11:15. Yeah. Okay, so it was like 2 hours. Like I was in there forever, it felt like. So I sat in the car and I called Bill, talked to him for a few minutes. And he says, every Tuesday, his daughter and her boyfriend come over for dinner. And he said, when you get home, pull out 6 chicken breasts. He said, when you Instacart something, how soon can you get it? I said, why? He said, because I want you to get like a box of shells and cheese, pasta, macaroni and cheese, some green beans, and some shake and bake. And I said, well, I'll just fucking stop at the store. I said, when I leave the doctor, I was going to go to the post office and check my P.O. box, because I haven't checked that in like a month. The grocery store is right next door. Literally, I could walk to the grocery store from the post office if I had to. He's like, well, I could stop too. He said, I just thought you would Instacart it. I said, I'll just stop. It's fine. I'm already out. And I'm the kind of person that if I'm out, I better get all my shit done when I'm out, because once I come home, I'm not going back out. I hate that. So I get off the phone with Bill, write down on a Post-it. Luckily I had a Post-it with me. Post-it what he wanted from the store. Then I decide to call the radiology place to see if I have to make an appointment for an x-ray. You don't have to make an appointment. So you can just walk in. And I'm like, okay, well, when I leave here and go to the post office, go to the grocery store, I'm driving to the x-ray place. X-ray place about 20 minutes away. I said, because I'm getting it all done right now, because I know the doctor, when I make the appointment for the foot doctor, he's going to want to see the x-ray. Okay, so then I call the foot doctor while I'm sitting in my car. I can't get an appointment there till October 29th. Okay, well, that's only a couple weeks. Fine. It's not like I'm dying, right? So, okay, and they say, you have to bring a CD of your x-ray with you. Okay. So then I go to the post office, and luckily I did check it because there was 2 things in there, which I show on my cross-stitch vlog that's coming out this Saturday. And then I went to the store. That went off without a hitch. That was fine. Got all that. Oh, and in the store is a Starbucks. So I still had $33 on my gift card. I thought I had $60, but I spent money when I was at the retreat last time at Starbucks. So I decided to get a small coffee, but I also got a new insulated cup that I can actually hold in my hand comfortably. Like some of the cups I have are really tall or really wide, and it's awkward to pick it up. So this one was cool. I really liked it. It's pink and purple, and yeah, so that was, I think the cup was $11 or something. So I did that, left the store, then went to get the x-ray. Now that went very well. Like they took me right away, had the x-ray done, and I said, okay, I need a CD of the results. She goes, okay, well, I'm going to tell you where to sit because it's going to take like a couple minutes. I was in there like another 10 or 15 minutes waiting for that. So then I leave there. By the time I got home, it was after 12. I still had 3 videos to record. Yeah. Because I got my scroll rods in. I wanted to record the scroll rod videos. And then I had to do my cross-stitch vlog segment for that day. So all in all, yesterday, I recorded 4 videos. Yeah. So I came home, unpacked my bag. I had a couple little things to do, checked email, did all that. Today's job confirmed that we have. And so I had to deal with that and text everybody. And by the time I sat down to do, and then I ate something for lunch. By the time I sat down to do my videos, it was like 1 o'clock. So, Bill gets home at 3:30. He had said the night before, one day you're off this week. I want you to look over my job application. He is applying for a lateral position in the county. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to get it, but it would mean he'd be working closer to home, which is nice. So he always has me look over that stuff because of me editing, proofreading, all that kind of thing. So I get everything. I get all the videos done. I'm at the point where I am starting to do my prep work for today's job. And that's when he comes home. And he got home at 3:30. So he comes in and we talk for a few minutes. I tell him about the doctor and all that kind of stuff. The x-ray, because I had talked to him about the doctor. And then he's like, can we look over my application? And he says, unless you're not done. I said, well, I can do this afterwards, So we look over his application. That's about another 45 minutes because he had me type in a bunch of stuff for him. And I was until 4:45 doing stuff. That was a busy day for not working. A busy day. And then I did some stitching. The video you're watching now is me stitching last night. I watched one of my Lifetime movies. And then I went downstairs and I played some Candy Crush. And have you started watching, or have you guys watched that show Midnight Mass on Netflix? What a freaky, weird town that is. And something is there, grabbing people. So I think I'm on episode 3. Yeah, my boss told me to watch it, and Jill also told me to watch it. So Midnight Mass. I can't even begin to explain it. It's about this small town. And when I say small, they're on an island. To get to the mainland, you have to take a ferry. They're on an island. Yeah, yeah. It's good, though. I like it. So it's held my interest. Oh, and by the way, American Horror Story. So they kind of split this season up into 2 sections. The first section is done. The second section has started. The first section was about vampires. The second section is about aliens. Within 5 minutes, I was saying, what the fuck am I looking at? What happened in the first episode was just so bizarre that I don't know where they're going to go with it. I'm very curious. So, yeah. Okay. I think that's all I have to jibby jab about. Oh, I did book my room for the retreats next year. So the Tangles retreat that I go to, that I just went to in September, they get together 3 times a year: April, September, December. The organizer of the retreat sends around an email when she gets the contract signed for the following year. And this year I just decided to book ahead. So what I have decided to start doing, and I think this is a brilliant plan on my part, I do try to take off as little days as I possibly can, because when I take off a fucking day, it's like moving goddamn heaven and earth to get everything finagled. But see, now I bring my laptop. So now I'm on top of it as far as keeping up with stuff. So normally for these retreats, I like to get there on Thursday, because then I have a full day Friday, a full day Saturday, and I wake up on Sunday and leave. Some people stay Sunday. I like to get home early, because if you wait until noon or 10, if you wait, you're sitting in traffic, and I don't have any patience for that. So this last time I had actually taken off Thursday and Friday. So I got there Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What I've decided to do going forward, because in December, we have the arbitration the week that I'm going. So I'm only taking off that Friday. I decided to still book Thursday, Because what I'm going to do in December is when the arbitration is over, I should be able to leave my house at about 7:15, get there at about 9:30ish, 10 o'clock. But that way I'll be able to go in, check into the hotel. The stitching room is open. You can stay in there all night if you want to. I can at least get set up on Thursday and then be able to wake up Friday and come down. Have all day Friday, all day Saturday. So have 2 full days. Because if I don't get there on Friday until like 12 or 1 o'clock, well, I have like 1.5 days. What's the point, right? So when I booked the room for April and September, I did the same thing. Coming in on that Thursday, because the arbitration is going to be over by the end of December or early January. So sometimes our jobs are over. Like my job the other day was over at 3 o'clock. If the job on those Thursdays in April and September, if it ends at 3 p.m. or whatever, well, I can just roll out right after that and be there by 5:36. Do you know what I mean? And if we happen to be off that day, well, then I'm leaving. Then I'm really going. I'm going early in the morning. So it gives me some options as far as when I get there and having a full day Friday and Saturday. So yeah, I called this morning and did all that. And then, so we have a portal for our doctor. She had put the result of something that I got done yesterday. And she says, oh, I noticed your tetanus shot was done in 2010. If you want to get a booster, call the office and schedule it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I was just there. So I called and she hadn't put the order in. They have to have the doctor put an order in. So they have to call me back to schedule that. But a lab appointment is very easy. You're literally in and out. So I'm going to try to schedule that for Monday, because Monday I have a teeth cleaning at 8 o'clock and I'm usually out of there by 9. So like I said, I'll be out. And the doctor is about 10 minutes away from the dentist. So yeah. Okay, I really am done jibby-jabbing now, 17 minutes in. So today's story is another cold case, and it is called Escape Plan. So imagine the scene. Dun, 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 right? You're a recently married young man working a night shift at a paper mill in a small Midwestern town. You have a young wife at home and a baby son, just 3 months old. You arrive home one morning, exhausted from your night's work, ready to hit the shower and then go to bed. As you approach the house, you notice something amiss. Your dog is outside, chained to a porch post. He seems nervous, barking and whimpering. Your wife loves that dog. She would never leave him tied up outside like that overnight, so instinctively you know something is wrong. You enter the silent house. You feel the hackles rise on the back of your neck. Yeah, you would be freaked out, right? So this was exactly the scene that 23-year-old Lane McIntyre faced on the morning of March 11th, 1980. Lane had just returned to his home in Columbus, Wisconsin, when he was confronted with the scenario described above: the chained dog, the silent house, the feeling of dread that engulfed him. And in this case, the trepidation was warranted, because just inside the front door lay his 18-year-old wife, Marilyn, quite obviously dead, a steak knife sticking out of her chest. What the fuck? Lane had barely a moment to process this bloody scene when a panicked thought flashed through his mind: his son, Christopher. Remember, he's only 3 months old. In the next moment, he was sprinting down the corridor to the baby's bedroom. Christopher was in his crib, sound asleep. Scooping the child up, Lane went for the phone and called his parents. They listened to his babbled, tearful, barely coherent telling, and then dialed the police. And I'm sure they were alarmed to begin with, because it's probably in the middle of the night. When you get a call in the middle of the night, it's never good. No. So to the officers who responded to that call, a few things were immediately obvious. The first was that there were no signs of a break-in. Marilyn had apparently let her killer into the residence, suggesting that it was someone she knew. The second was that the killer had not just stabbed Marilyn, he had beaten and strangled her. Jesus Christ. That level of violence again pointed to someone with a personal relationship most probably someone with a considerable level of animosity towards the victim. But who might that person be? Everyone who knew Marilyn said that she was a friendly, easygoing person without an enemy in the world. The first suspect, as it almost always is in these cases, was the grieving husband. Lane, of course, had an alibi. He had been at the mill all night. Based on the testimony of a neighbor who said that she had woken at around 3 a.m. after the dog was put outside and started barking, the police had an estimate of when the murder occurred. Lane's time card suggested that he had been at work at that time. Okay, a little side note before I go on. I just remembered, and I said this in my cross-stitch vlog yesterday. I received an email from Velky Pataki yesterday. My stand is shipping in November. I've already paid for it. Let's go. Okay, back to the story. But as detectives began delving a little deeper, they learned that the alibi wasn't quite as watertight as it appeared. Lane had worked alone that night, and he was allowed to take breaks without clocking out. That meant that he could have left the plant during his shift without anyone knowing about it. Aside from that, the police learned that he had a financial motive. Just days before Marilyn's death, he had taken out a policy on her life. Oh, God. Lane, did you do this? Lane McIntyre might have had motive and opportunity, but that didn't make him a wife killer. The police did not have a shred of evidence against him. Besides, everyone they talked to told them that Lane loved Marilyn and would never have harmed her. Instead, friends and family suggested another suspect, a friend of the couple named Curtis Forbes. According to sources, Forbes was furious with Marilyn for encouraging his girlfriend, Deborah Adelson, to break up with him. Oh, boy. Brought in for questioning, Curtis Forbes admitted that he had been angry with Marilyn for meddling in his relationship. But he denied harming her. He said, "That's not how I roll." Okay. He then went on to offer an alibi. According to Forbes, he had been drinking at a bar that night. He had left at closing time and had then gone to visit a friend named Lowery Beatty. Beatty and her boyfriend confirmed that Forbes had shown up on their doorstep at around 1 a.m., but he hadn't stayed long. Finding they had no beer, he offered to go out and buy some, but he never returned. That, of course, would have given him plenty of time to drive to the McIntyre residence and kill Marilyn. Confronted with this, Forbes admitted that it was true, but said that he hadn't returned to Lori's apartment because he had decided to visit his girlfriend Deborah Adelson instead, and that was where he had spent the rest of the night. The police, of course, checked out this latest amendment to the alibi, and they soon learned that it was flawed. Forbes had indeed visited his girlfriend in the early morning hours, but he had only arrived at her house around 4 a.m. That left 3 hours unaccounted for, 3 hours which just happened to coincide with the time of Marilyn McIntyre's murder. So it was time to bring in Curtis Forbes for another round of questioning. However, when the police went to find him, they learned that Forbes had quit town. Oh boy, sus right there. This was not a good look for a man suspected of murder. On the other hand, Forbes was a carpenter who sometimes worked on construction projects out of state. His sudden disappearance might have an entirely innocent explanation. Besides, what did the police have on him really? Forbes had a flawed alibi, but that didn't make him a killer. And so Marilyn was laid to rest, and the inquiry into her violent death gradually ground to a halt for lack of evidence, as happens so very often, right? Lane McIntyre continued to be regarded by most locals as the likely killer, and even his son Christopher became estranged from him over those suspicions. Over the years that followed, Marilyn's family continued to call the Columbus police from time to time, asking if there were any new leads in the case, and the answer was always the same. Fate is a fickle thing, though. Sometimes the smallest actions can have major consequences, either good or bad. In 2007, Marilyn McIntyre's niece decided to call for an update on her aunt's case. Her intention was to dial the Columbus Police Department, who had jurisdiction. Mistakenly, she called the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. The detective she spoke to had never heard of the McIntyre case, but was nonetheless intrigued. He vowed to look into the matter, certain that there must be blood evidence in such a violent death, and if that was the case, then DNA might unmask the killer. because, you know, that was in the 80s, and now we are in 2007. Things would not turn out to be quite as straightforward as that, though. Blood had been retrieved from the bathroom sink at the crime scene, and it returned 2 DNA profiles when submitted for testing. One was from Marilyn. The other was from the person who was likely her killer. When no match was found in CODIS, the cops asked Lane McIntyre to provide a sample, which he immediately did. It wasn't him. After 27 years of suspicion, innuendo, and outright accusations, Lane had been officially cleared of his wife's murder. Can you imagine living with that for 27 years and being like a pariah in your hometown? That would prompt me to probably leave. Yeah. So with Lane out of the picture, the focus now shifted to the only other suspect the police had considered, Curtis Forbes. Soon they would uncover a startling detail that had not come to light at the time of the original inquiry. Why can I never say that word? Inquiry. There we go. On the morning that Marilyn died, Forbes had handed his girlfriend a bloodied shirt and asked her to wash it. You big dummy. The presence of blood in the bathroom and on Forbes' shirt suggested that if he was indeed Marilyn's killer, he might have suffered an injury while attacking her. Most likely, that injury would have been inflicted by the victim's nails. The decision was therefore taken to exhume Marilyn's corpse to see if skin cells could be retrieved from under her fingernails. Would that have lasted 27 years? Such evidence would have made the case, but the results would prove disappointing because after 27 years in the ground, the biological material was unusable. Yeah. But that is not to say that the exhumation was a waste of time. Investigators had decided beforehand that they would use the event to put psychological pressure on their suspect. Columbia County officials had been all over the media confidently predicting that DNA would be found and that it would close their case. Their hope was that it would spook the killer, and in that regard, it succeeded. As detectives kept Forbes under surveillance, they found that he was making plans to pull another of his disappearing acts. It turned out that Forbes had recently been in touch with the Carpenters Union in Hawaii, scouting for work there. He had also been checking out inflatable rafts and was inquiring about chartering a fishing boat. Investigators believe that he planned on taking the boat out on Lake Michigan and sinking it, faking his death. He would then take the raft ashore and abscond to a new life in Hawaii. Unfortunately for Forbes, he was arrested before he could pull off his audacious escape plan. Curtis Forbes went on trial in November of 2010, 30 years from the murder of Marilyn. He entered a plea of not guilty, but the case against him was strong. Aside from his DNA on the bathroom sink, there was the testimony of his girlfriend, Deborah Adelson, who told the court about the bloody shirt he had handed her on the morning of the murder. There were also witnesses who testified that Forbes had tried to pick up several women at the bar that night and had been rebuffed every time. The prosecution's theory was that he had eventually decided to visit Marilyn, who he knew would be home alone. Whether he intended to sexually assault her or to kill her in revenge for turning his girlfriend against her, the outcome was against him. The outcome was the same. Marilyn had ended up dead. So no wonder she let him in, right? So in the end, it took the jury just 3 hours to convict Curtis Forbes of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. So it must be nice, though, after 27 years to have resolution to it. But Jesus, like, I don't know how people live with themselves knowing he was questioned. I mean, that was one of his best friend's wives. What? Like, at least he didn't kill the son. He wasn't mad at the little boy, right? But what's also horrible is that the son was estranged from the father all those years because he thought he killed his mother, and he didn't. So hopefully that relationship was repaired, you know? Okay. I hope you guys all have a fantastic Wednesday. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.